Hey, welcome everyone. My name's Paul. It's All Nations Soccer. We're early August 2026. And how was the other game over there? Yeah, we had a pretty good time in our game. I almost did a bicycle kick, but I'm going to wait for my Medicare to kick in next year. And it kicks in January, and then I'll start doing those again. But one of the things that's sort of been on my mind is the World Cup and just sort of the aftermath of the World Cup. And you guys might have some thoughts about that, and we'll talk about that at the end if you want to pipe up about that. But you know, the thing that really impressed me was the global aspect of it, and just how the whole world comes together and plays. You know, one team, one country against another country, and you know, certainly it's great to see Messi and Ronaldo, and you know, a lot of the younger guys coming up, and you know, that's very encouraging, very inspiring. And but you know, it sort of reminded me of Jesus. You know, because when Jesus came on the scene, he was 30 years old, and he decided that was the time to go into ministry, and there were reasons for that. That's when the Jewish priests went into the ministry. So Jesus goes right into the ministry, and his first interactions with people, it's all about global conquest. He's not here to just start a little ministry and see how it goes. He's coming to take over the world. And then the Bible talks about his fame and how the crowds would come together and they would crush each other because there were so many people coming after Jesus, and how he was just inspiring and amazing people with his teaching. And you know, one of the things that really struck me about Jesus was his courage. He was just extremely courageous from the minute he started. And then at the end, he's in front of Pontius Pilate, who's the Roman judge who's going to execute him. And Pontius Pilate's a tough guy. You know, he executes like, you know, probably 4 or 5 people a day. And he's talking to Jesus, and Jesus is like, you know, he's telling Pontius Pilate, you know, Pontius Pilate saying to him, hey, you know, don't you realize, you know, because Jesus isn't answering the questions, you see. And Pontius Pilate's like, don't you realize that I have the authority to execute you? And Jesus says, you would have no authority unless it was given to you from God above. And then every interaction he has with Pontius Pilate's getting more and more afraid. And then when they go to arrest Jesus, you know, this army with swords and torches comes at night to arrest him. And then they say, where's Jesus? And Jesus stands up and says, I'm here. Come and get me. And they says the army fell back. They were so afraid of him and his courage. And all the people, all the men that were around Jesus, like in Acts 4, you got John and I think it's Philip or Peter, and they get arrested for preaching about Jesus when, you know, they're not supposed to. They're told not to, but they get arrested. And then they took note that they saw their courage, and they took note that these men had been with Jesus. And so, you know, it's just an amazing thing that he gives us this commission to go and make disciples of all the world, and to go throughout the world and to preach the gospel, the good news about Jesus, to every nation. And the good news is that if we believe in Jesus, we go to heaven. We don't have to do lots of good works and earn our way to get to heaven. We just have to believe in him and have a relationship with him, and we go to heaven. And so far, like, lots and lots of people have become Christians throughout the world. And I was talking to someone recently about my faith. And you know, when I first started learning about Jesus, I was in my early 20s, and I thought it was a bunch of fairy tales. I thought it was a bunch of little old ladies sitting around telling nice stories. I didn't think it was about world conquest. I didn't think it was about Jesus and a revolution to totally take over the world. And I got more and more impressed as I read. And then at one point, I wasn't sure whether it was true, like whether there was history to back it up, because I didn't want to believe something that was a lie, that was fake, you know, because, you know, I go home and my parents would just tell me I'm an idiot, you know, and they love doing that. And, you know, my friends would say, you know, you're crazy and all that. So I started like getting into like I got to the library and did a lot of research. And Jesus is a verifiable historical figure. When he rose from the dead, he appeared to over 500 people. And so, and it's so well documented. There's thousands of documents about Jesus and him rising from the dead, his teaching and all that he did. It just made an amazing impact. And so, and then as I started to get to know him and started to believe in him, I started to pray, and a lot of these prayers that I prayed, just outrageous prayers, started coming true. And so I really had to burn my bridges. And so I was hanging with a pretty tough crowd, a lot of drinking, a lot of parties, and about half of those guys became Christians right then and there. And then the other half thought I was crazy, and a lot of them still do, but a lot of them are coming around to knowing God. And that was like 40 years ago. And it's a life of great adventure. You know, it's taken me all over the world. And I've been to Africa, I've been to the Philippines, I've been just so many countries with my faith and in ministries and so forth. And tomorrow I'm going to England because as a young 20-year-old, I went to England to lead a campus ministry, and I met my wife there. And so her mom just passed, and so we're going back there tomorrow for a week just to have the funeral and meet with the family and so forth. And it's an exciting adventure. That part's very sad, of course, but it just keeps moving along at a really it's a very action-packed lifestyle, really. And so if you want to learn more about this, if you have any questions, you can come and ask me. And but we'll be here on Sunday, and Chris will be leading it on Sunday, and then we'll need someone to help out on Thursday. So if you can help out next Thursday, let me know, and then I'll be back next Friday. But thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for coming, and thanks for being such good sports in the heat. I know it's tough out here today, but we had a lot of fun, and I hope you did too. There's nothing better than a good game of soccer. There's no video game or movie that could compare. It's so much fun. I really appreciate you guys a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And thank you, Sergio, for doing the opinion. He didn't lose, did he?
No.